man. I'm Eva Schock supporter along with Joe Miller and Martin Fischer-Ullmann to break down that win from H2k. Well, gentlemen, it was an explosive game to start it off with here in the finals of the Challenger Series. And let's take it back to the beginning. The Fischer, maybe break down the picks and bans for us. A lot of comfort picks coming in for both sides.
Right, so H2k actually banned away 2 junglers. Normally you would expect them to pick Elise as their third one left of the elite junglers here, but they clearly wanted Jarvan. It was very obvious because on their first 2 picks they went Jax and Thresh instead of taking the Elise pick here. I think they were expecting NIP to just instant lock Elise and maybe even give Twitch over to the side of H2k here. Obviously, it was first pick Twitch from NIP, really wanted this pick, which didn't actually work out too well for them because they fell behind. However, it was clear H2k had a plan. Get Jarvan for Trashy and just be very aggressive early on here, and we saw it, of course, with all the camping in the mid lane.
I think they were both pretty cutthroat lineups as well. I mean, we saw there at the end, we mentioned actually backstage that there's no wave clear really on either team, so if you start to fall behind with that comp, you're going to lose the game. So it was all about who was going to get started earlier on, and well, we saw H2k managed to carry it through.
Yeah, let's touch on a couple of things in that early game. First off, Jarvan putting down the pressure, and NIP actually getting the lane swap that they wanted, but they couldn't do that much with it.
Right, so yeah, NIP wants lane swap because they have Twitch and Braum, which is not a very good lane early. They want to get a few levels going, then they can become very, very strong. So it would have been easy for H2k to shut them down. Also, Jax does well against Shyvana in the early stages of the laning phase, so of course NIP got the lane swap. However, because Exile had some very poor wards, in my opinion, around the mid lane, it was very easy for H2k to just shut him down and gank him over and over and get Fabian very fed in the mid lane on LeBlanc.
Also hard, though, I think, to ward out against this kind of team. True. We saw it for the first blood, that Jarvan just comes straight through the back of the Dragon Pit, Jax jumps over onto his head, and you can't really ward every possible scenario for that.
True.
So absolutely, very sneaky Jarvan there, surpassing the wards. Now, whatever happens in the early game, you're only as strong as your team fight. So we're going to take a look at a couple of those team fights. So we're going to get the first one up on the screen, actually, where the teams fight for Dragon, and it is H2k that chooses to, NIP that chooses to engage here.
Right, so yeah, H2k already started the Dragon. It was an issue for NIP throughout the entire game, actually. H2k was always one step ahead when it got to start the objectives here. They're starting up the Dragon, and now the key thing for NIP in this fight is Voidal needs to land his ulti, knock up 1 or 2 members so Exile can use his ulti and just instantly blow someone up. So if you roll the clip here, we see the exact opposite happen here. Exile misses his ulti, Voidal misses the ulti here, so Exile is actually useless in this fight here. He didn't use it, he took all the damage, had to jump out of the fight. This was basically 4 versus 5 in favor of H2k. Therefore, even though they get 1 kill on the side of NIP, there's nothing they can do, and Fabian just picks up more and more kills and becomes also strong on this LeBlanc.
And doing really well, I think, in terms of rotating people in and out of that fight there, making sure that no one went too low. We saw LeBlanc coming in and out, in and out. Also, Odo Amne pulled off a brilliant counter-strike at the start of that fight. Just walked around the corner, I think stunned up 3 of them. Really, really good fight for H2k.
Absolutely, and we touched on the Febiven build when we were backstage. He's going full aggression, has a Rabadon, Zedcat, Morellonomicon in there. No early armor actually for him. It did pay off. Would you say that's the way he played it or the way his team played it, and was it a good choice?
Well, obviously it worked for him because you wanted to just try and snowball the game with as much damage as possible. However, when you're against Twitch and Yasuo, normally you really want this either just get some early armor or go full on for the Hourglass so you can actually protect yourself. And we actually do see here in the next replay we have, if you just pull it up on the screen, which is the team fight where NIP turns things around. If there had been an Hourglass onto Fabian, he would have been in a lot better situation. So if you just roll the clip here, this time it's actually H2k invading onto NIP. But the great thing for NIP is Voidal takes all the damage. He's the target first. He gets a great ulti this time around, so we see the difference here. Exile gets onto Fabian. Again, remember, no Hourglass, so he has no way to protect himself once Fabian is onto him. So it's an easy kill, and therefore, with all the burst damage now gone from this LeBlanc here, NIP can clean up the fight, pick up the quarter kill, and get back in the game.
Really, really well done. And I actually thought that that may just be a turn of it, but fact is that LeBlanc was pretty damn fed already. Okay, if you manage to target her out right at the start of the fight like we saw there, it can go your way, but we saw time and time again that he just came in the fight, did his damage, left so that he didn't take too much damage in the meantime, and then just came back in once the cooldowns were up as well. He was, in my opinion, far too far ahead.
Agree, and it's one thing we really have to give H2k credit for. The targeting in teamfights were pretty much perfect. I mean, the late game teamfights was, okay, where's Freeze? Pop, he's dead. Okay, where's the next one? Exile, Doom, you're dead now. LeBlanc just went in and out, and Odoamne taking all the damage together with Trashy. So they were very good at picking out the right targets.
Yeah, absolutely superior targeting there from H2k. On the other side, we saw it, a quadra kill coming in for Yasuo there for NIP, a double kill right after that. They're very low, and they decide to go for Baron at 24 minutes in, which was kind of their death sentence.
It was a weird decision, especially because the members alive from H2k was the Jax, full HP, LeBlanc, full HP, and of the AD carry, I believe also pretty much full HP. So all the carries from H2k were still alive, and yet you go for this Baron here, only 4 members. It was just very risky. NIP shouldn't have done it. They could have gone top lane instead. There was a big wave pushing into the tower, take a tower, then back away.
Another thing was, they saw them coming. They had vision of the backside. They saw them loop around. They had time to actually stop doing the Baron and completely disengage from that one and walk away from it completely. Chose not to, and well, we saw what happened. Luckily for them, I think, at least at that point, that H2k went decently low themselves and didn't do Baron straight after.
And luckily for them as well, they can come back in the next game, of course. So guys, shortly, what do you think NIP can do to go into this second game more confidently?
So I basically think pick and ban phase went okay for both teams here. I don't think they have to change up too many things. Obviously the LeBlanc was an issue, but that's because Exile didn't expect all their ganks on him early on. That's where the early kills came in, started the whole snowball. I basically think NIP, if they want to play this comp, have to be more decisive and have to play the team fights better, because there were some bad team fights and that's why they fell behind. And also, of course, to the early pressure from Trashy. I don't think they have to ban away Jarvan or anything.
I think the great thing is it's a best of 3, right? So this is kind of always how it goes in a best of 3, that you feel your opponent out a little bit in the first game. You've got that 5, 10, 15 minutes in between games to, maybe you can't correct everything, but at least you've got the time to talk about what went wrong. And I think you hit the nail on the head there when he said there were some team fights that just either were started off wrong or they shouldn't have just got into in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens. But for now, we have to take a quick break. But when we return, it is game 2 between the Ninjas and Pyjamas and H2k Gaming. We'll be right back.